From epic rivals? I wouldn't call it epic, but why not? To community acceptance, oh boy. And easy medicine. That can make life much easier. Hello, Magi here, and welcome back to another episode of Interesting Touhou Facts, the series where I talk about facts from Touhou that I find either fun, unusual, or simply interesting. So without further ado, let's begin the Interesting Touhou Facts number 93.
Number 5.
So when it comes to official Touhou games, they're usually contained in a jewel case. When it comes to the illustrations of the jewel cases, it's usually a silhouette of a character. I want to thank Lord Alfredo again for the jewel cases. Makes this part more fun. EOSD and PCB first had extra bosses for their pictures. Later on, it became the final bosses of those games. Spin-offs have their own little rule, as it could either be the final boss or the new playable character. There is an outlier to this though. Now in Hidden Star, we see that Okina is present in the jewel case, makes sense. But if you look closer, there appears to be more silhouettes. By comparing the cast in the game, we find out it's Okina's servant, Mai and Satono. It's reasonable given they work for her, but like I mentioned, it's usually reserved for the people who I mentioned earlier, final or extra stage boss. Mai and Satono are the first Windows era characters to appear alongside the final boss, not meeting those criteria. The only other weird one would be Antenmi. While it does fit the final boss portion, it was the first time we dealt with two final bosses, so that was unique in its own right. Now I can't imagine this formula deviating more in the future, but who knows? It's 2019, a new game is bound to be announced.
Number 4.
Now this next fact is pretty well known, to be honest, but again, not everyone is super deep into the lore, which is why the series is here to educate those who are new and interested. Or bored! There's always that. So this next fact involves Hidden again, mainly Okina. So when going for the rematch against the Secret God in the extra stage, when playing as Reimu, it's implied that Okina is familiar with Yukari. Okina also knew that Yukari was the one who thought of the unique strategy of using the quote-unquote boundary between seasons to defeat her. I mean, it did evolve in borders, and who do we know who associates a lot with it? Yukari, of course. Although Okina figured out the strategy, Reimu on the other hand didn't understand the logic behind it, but it didn't matter as long as she was able to defeat Okina in the end. A little spoiler, she did! The power of the Hakare Shrine Maiden. Plus, having a yokai sage helping you doesn't hurt either.
Number 3.
So as we know in Gensokyo, they're not technologically very developed as compared to ours. So don't be expecting to whip out a PS4 when you visit there. Although I have to admit, that would be cool. But what they lack in knowledge when it comes to that area, there are others who are better at it. At first you would be thinking the Kappas, which is reasonable. But these folks are not from around Gensokyo, or even Earth. So in Strange Creators Volume 1, in the village, Aente has set up a medicine depot. That way the people there have an easier time to access medicine. I mean, going through the bamboo forest every time you're feeling sick sounds like a pain in the ass. There is a doctor in the village, but what they can provide pales compared to the one who, cured death. Payment is collected for used medicine and the depot is restocked at the start of each season on a regular basis. Understand that while it works well, it doesn't cure everything. As long as it's not an emergency or life-threatening situation, you can check out the medicine depot. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty smart of them. Now this part is merely speculation, but it's possible Raisin could be the one refilling it. If you didn't know, Raisin has come to the village before to sell medicine, but that was under disguise, of course. So having visited the place before without any issues, it's reasonable to imagine she does the restocking should they need it. Again, just a theory, but it doesn't seem so crazy. Another thing to note, there's also a depot that sells toad oil and so on by Kappas. But they're yokais, and the village isn't too keen on them, so do be wary. So long as you have money, the Kappas won't be annoying to you. Probably.
Number 2.
So when it comes to main games, everything is done by Zun. I don't know how the fuck he does it, but he does, and that's why so many people have respects for this drunken bastard. Now when it comes to the fighting spin-off games, that's a different matter. Zun will provide this character, story, and music for the new characters. Gameplay, art style, and remixes are done by the team working on it, Twilight Frontier. Now if you've seen the older fighters before, you may have noticed this distinctive art style before, called Alf's art style. It's pretty popular as it has about 1,000 pictures on Dumburo based on the style. So it's definitely doing something right. Now from Urban and onwards, the art changed very significantly. I mean, really changed. You might be asking why. So it was planned at first for the tradition for elves, the artists, to work on it, but for some reason they couldn't do it this time. The reason wasn't specified, so I don't know. Anyway, Twilight was worried who to ask to create official artwork for the game as they wanted the community to accept it. That seems reasonable. When you've been making a game with the same art style for that long, changing it would throw people off. So the solution to it, ask another person who's creating official work. From there, they talked to Mori Harukawa, the artist behind Forbidden Scrollery, which makes a lot of sense since we're familiar with the art style. She saved their asses, that's for sure.
Number 1.
So for this last fact, we're going to be turning to strange creators once more. This will involve the Shrine Maiden, or Player 2 for short, Sanae. We're going to be talking about Sanae's purpose, if you will. Not what you were expecting, surely. Anyway, in Strange Creators Volume 1, in the character sections relating to humans, when creating her, she was meant to be Reimu's rival. Not only that, Zuden wanted an easy-to-use character. That may sound weird, but let me explain. When I say easy-to-use character, it's meant for story purposes. Due to her talking a lot, confidence, and backbone, she doesn't blend into the background with other characters. He's certainly right about that. Any girl who's happy with battling strange, powerful, and magical creatures is surely no background character. His current characters at the time were popular but not easy to write. Their popularity made it harder to tweak their established traits. Yomu was actually meant to fill Sanae's role as easy to use, but she's surprisingly hard to write. Obviously, I never created these characters, so I don't fully understand how hard it could be to write them, but I'll take Zun's word on this one. It's just like the Reimu one, characters so complex, not even the creator knows how they work. That always gets me. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Which facts were your favorite? Do you like the idea of the medicine depot at the village? Were you glad Moe took the helms for the artists in the future fighters? Or can you think of any characters as complex like Yomu who would be hard to write? If you guys enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and subscribe, or else I might be sent to the boundary between seasons. Don't know what would happen, but weird shit. Probably. Either way, this is Magi, and thanks again for watching.